Welcome to Split Your Head. I'm your host, Bob, and today's special guest is Lucky Cerruti, a New York based filmmaker who's been carving away at some increasingly slick horror flicks. I first was exposed to him through his gruesome backwoods slasher creature feature, Freak, and have been following along his filmography since. His latest, Boxcutter, is a huge step forward, though, a bona fide modern grindhouse epic that felt on par with Jeremy Saulnier and S. Craig Zoller in terms of its high stakes drama and visceral violence. I'm extremely stoked to finally get him on here to talk about this phenomenal feature, and hopefully we can talk a bit about metal too. Lucky, how are you doing?
Bob, it is such a pleasure. That was far too kind of an intro. I really appreciate it, and I'm very happy to be here. I'm a big fan of the show, and
Oh, thank
so
you.
thank you very much. Yeah, of course.
Well, thank you. And thank you for making Boxcutter. I mean, I was lucky enough to see a screener of it just a week before we did this interview. And yeah, it truly did blow me away. I hope that the comparison to Jeremy Saulnier as Craig Zoller clicked at all in terms of maybe your inspirations for it. But for those listening, they have no idea what this film is because it's not out yet. So let's get into Boxcutter. When is it coming out?
Sure. I might disappoint with the answer to this question, which is I don't really know. And the reason is uh, up until now with
Oh,
my
shit.
previous films, it was my choice to kind of self distribute them to a certain degree. They kind of found different avenues later. You know, Wild Eye picked up Freak a little bit down the road, and SRS now has Sleezo, which you can find. But in the beginning, I was like, well, they're done. I'm just going to put them out right away because that's I want people to see them.
Yeah,
Uh, I have to really practice a lot of restraint, a lot of patience with Boxcutter because, I mean, to me, like you said very kindly, I too would agree that it is a big step up just in terms of the production itself. And I really would love to see a little bit more in terms of what I would be able to give to it by way of a release, if that makes any sense. So I would
totally.
want to kind of do it in a more quote unquote traditional way, which I don't even know what that means anymore
Yeah.
necessarily, and it's always changing, So, but I'm looking at some of the festivals that I have always wanted to play, and the genre friendly festivals and things like that, and
Yeah.
kind of going the route of a more traditional rollout of a release. So, and the movie is like just now finished. Like I
Mm.
just finished it like a
Yeah.
couple weeks ago by the time I sent it to you. So like I don't know is the short answer.
Okay.
But it's only because I want to do it the right way, and I'm not too
Yeah.
sure what that looks like at this point in time. Um,
Okay.
so as soon as I get a better idea,
Yeah.
of course, like I would want everybody to know, and
Yeah.
I'll
Yeah.
scream it from the rooftops. But at this point in time,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, that's exciting because when I watched it, I was like, okay, this should get a theatrical run. That was my impression of it. I felt like it was deserving and would have its most impact if people could see it in theaters. It also, I mean, this is such a weird thing to say, but so often like indie horror stuff is around an hour and a half or under. Something about the
Mm,
fact that this is an hour closer to an hour 40, it gave
mhm.
it a bit more of a prestige feeling, you know? I don't
Oh,
know if
that's
that makes
nice.
sense, but yeah,
That's
yeah, it
nice.
just made it, yeah, which matches the tone, the intention of the film. And so I think that it is something that should I mean, playing it at festivals would definitely help. You might meet distributors that way. I even wonder, like, I have no idea how this works, but reaching out to Shutter, like, I feel like Shutter would totally pick this up.
Well, I don't wanna speak out of school, And
Okay.
I'm sure that there are things that I shouldn't like broadcast out quite
Oh,
yet.
okay. Yeah.
Um, I have worked for Shutter before. I worked on The Last Drive-In with Joe Bob Briggs
Oh,
um,
cool.
for a season. I met some folks. Uh, that is definitely something on my mind. It is
Yeah.
something that I would love to see for the movie. I would love if it got like the When Evil Lurks treatment, where it played a limited theatrical run in some cities and then just lives
Yeah.
on Shudder. Like I think that would be lovely.
Yeah,
So
that's perfect.
um, some conversations have been had.
Hell yeah.
I don't I nothing. I'm not trying to be cryptic. I just like there's nothing concrete to say, but um, I share your opinion that it would be good in a theater and
Yeah,
that it would be
yeah.
good on Shutter, and that's
Okay.
all I'll say about that.
Okay, okay. So is it okay, Sam Zimmerman? Is he the guy that runs Shutter?
Yeah, I mean, he is definitely like in a position of acquisition slash curation. I'm not too sure like where the title comes in or like what exactly. But yeah, I mean, he is I don't know him. I've never spoken to him. Um the
Ah,
people that
okay.
I've kind of had have a relationship with and have spoken to are kind of a little bit more removed, but have a more direct line than I do. So um,
Okay.
we'll see, we'll see. But yeah, he does a really good job, and I obviously like love Shutter and would love to see Boxcutter on there because I do think that it would maybe do well.
Yeah, yeah. Well, they've been, I mean, over the past, I would say 3 years, have been acquiring a lot of really strong films. Like I don't know if you got a chance to see The Sadness.
Oh, of course. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I mean, stuff like that to me feels like it makes sense to have it on a platform like Shutter, but it also is something that, is deserving of theatrical run, deserving of like a Blu-ray. It's definitely like pushing the genre forward. And I feel like what you made is kind of in a similar camp to that, and there's been a few other films this past year, like The Ugly Stepdaughter was fantastic and Grafted was really good.
My when I'm in like movie making mode, my movie intake absolutely tanks. It's not
Right.
on purpose, but
No, no,
like
no.
I can't, whatever. So I
Yeah.
haven't seen a lot of things that have come out even within the past like 1.5, 2 years. I've
That's
been
okay.
really lacking.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to catch up on. But I agree. I mean, from what I understand about the things that are coming out and that are getting like pretty sizable releases,
Mhm.
theatrical runs and stuff like that. Um, I don't think necessarily it's out of the realm of possibility subject matter wise that
Yeah.
would at least have a home somewhere, which gives me a lot of hope because I definitely didn't go into it hoping that whatever movie came out would be able to play everywhere. Like I made the movie I wanted to make,
Yeah.
but it's definitely a vote of confidence that what we're seeing in theaters are like pretty brutal in some
Yeah.
cases. So like, it
Yeah. Yeah.
bodes well for me that has a little bit of that streak. I love me some violence and
Right.
gross
But
stuff. So
I think what makes Box Cutter so strong, and maybe this is a good segue into actually just talking about what the film is about and everything, is
mm,
that the Box Cutter does have a very strong like drama element to it. The characters are really strong and fleshed out. The acting is really good too, and I don't say that lightly because to me this film felt like it wouldn't have worked unless you had those
mm,
performances. There's so much anguish with these characters. There's so much grief, and it feels very authentic and nuanced without hammering you over the fucking head. Like, I mean, you just said you haven't watched a lot of new horror films, but Take Her Back, I think it was, that I saw earlier this year,
Oh, Bring
was
Her Back. Yeah.
Bring Her Back. Yeah.
Right.
I honestly was so disappointed with that, and it did
Oh, really?
everything that your film doesn't do with, I wouldn't say a similar subject matter, but a similar, like, heaviness to, because
Sure.
it deals with grief, it deals with trauma, things like that. But it does it in a way that just feels more real and human, as opposed to this like overwrought placeholder to me. But oh yeah, go ahead.
No, no, no. That was interesting. I haven't seen the movie, but it was always super important to me when we were making it. We would always say that we're not making a horror movie; we're making a violent drama, and
mm.
um, I really like took that super serious and think that it's not, to me it's not a scary film. It's a it's tense and intense, but like it's bleak, and that's exactly what I wanted it to be. And you're so right, everybody understood that assignment and just really delivered. I'm super grateful that I got to work with all of the people that made that movie what it is, and honestly made me look like way more proficient than I maybe am. Um,
Yeah.
but from the very beginning of like when I started making movies, I had no like real training or knowledge of how to do it. But what I did know is if people watch something that I made and could see that like it wasn't necessarily uh the most proficient technically, like filmmaking wise. I'm not
Hmm.
saying this for boxing. I'm saying, just when I was
Sure.
starting out, if
Yeah.
somebody could watch a movie and be like, well, he doesn't really know how to make a movie, but he knows how to pick actors that will do the job. And that was
Ah,
always
okay.
super important to me because, like,
Yeah.
that I can wrap my head around. I grew up in that world, so like I can understand that.
Wait, what do you
Um,
mean you grew up in that world?
Oh, I kind of grew up, as a performer. I did a lot of theater growing up,
Oh, gotcha.
so
Okay.
yeah, a lot of the folks that are still in the movies that I make are people that I've known literally since I was a child,
Oh,
acting and doing
okay.
stuff like that. So, I've been very fortunate to be surrounded by so many
Yeah.
people that I love to make art with, and
Yeah.
have continued to allow me to, ask
Right.
them to come play,
That's awesome. Wait,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
so
yeah.
were you a theater actor, or were you in like film and television, or both?
So I definitely grew up a theater actor. I did my first professional theatrical performance when I was 10.
Okay.
Um, and
Wait,
I just
professional?
Yeah, that was the
Holy
first time that
shit.
I mean, it's not like on Broadway or anything, but like where I was
Yeah.
from, we were lucky to have a regional theater that was like a professional year-round theater. So I that was my first time, feeling like, "Oh, this is cool. Like I'm getting a check to do this. Like this is fun. I would do this for
Yeah.
free." Um so yeah, that was like a lot of my life, and then I kind of found music and did that route. But like
Ah.
acting and theater in particular have always been, a part of my life. When I
Mm.
moved to New York, I like tried to get on sets as like I did extra work and stuff like that.
Oh
Nothing
yeah.
and
Like
substantial, but
background.
by that time,
Yeah.
my confidence as an actor had kind of like already left. I knew that I was never
Oh.
gonna have a career as an actor. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I just liked being around it. So just finding
Mm.
extra work and stuff in New York was fun.
That's interesting. I think you maybe are the first director I've had on who initially started as an actor, and it's
Mm,
obviously giving you a strength in that field, because then you're kind of like an actor's director. You know how to communicate to these actors and say what you want.
Yeah, I mean, going back to what we were talking about just now, I am not a gearhead. I don't have a technical background in filmmaking. I didn't go to school for it. I
Yeah.
really have the only things about filmmaking as the medium that I know is by
Yeah.
watching movies and doing it and surrounding myself with people that know more than me, which I think is very important. But
Mm.
what I think that I am able to do, and quite honestly, my favorite part of the job is talking to actors and working with actors because I know what works for me. I know what doesn't work for me. And the best you can do is just kind of build your own style from the people that I have been around. So
Yeah.
I've been
Yeah.
fortunate enough to work with some very, very great directors that were able to just like talk to me and get a performance out, or and
Right.
uh observing them with other people, so it's I'm really thankful that I had the beginnings in acting and stuff, because I do think that there is a direct line from that origin to making a movie like Boxcutter. I don't know if I'd be able to
Totally.
um handle it. I
Yeah.
don't know. It would be a different movie, I think. So
Yeah. Well, as I
I
was saying, what I was saying earlier about how this film wouldn't work without the strong performances. I
mm,
mean, the most specific thing I can think of, and I don't want to spoil anything, but there are a lot of moments where the actors are like so pained and they're like screaming and crying, and they're all very believable moments. But for an indie film, that is so hard to pull off. People don't know how to get that like believable kind of like guttural
mm.
expression out of actors. And so I'm just curious, and like, how do you communicate that to an actor to like say, I need you to go this volume with it, I need you to go this hard with it, and I need, do you know what I mean? Like, how do you what is it, do you have to provide like a certain space that they know? You know what I mean? Like
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, for me and this film in particular, I think it was just super important to reiterate the safeness of the environment.
cool.
Um, to be able to convey that what we're gonna do is gonna be really intense. It's gonna be really, it's going to be all encompassing. You're going to give a lot to this, but this is an environment that you are safe to experiment. You are safe to go, um, as far with it as you'd like, as you're comfortable with. It's not about, I need you to think about your dog that's dead, and
Oh,
like I
okay.
need you to blah blah
Okay.
blah. It's
Yeah.
definitely not about that. And honestly, that's not to me, that's not my job. I
Okay.
hired these people to do what they need to do to get there. They
Okay.
have the material. They know what I am. They know what is expected of them. That's on the page.
Yeah.
I just need to trust that I brought on the right people to carry that to the finish line. Do you know what I mean?
Totally. Yeah. Yeah.
So, like, it's really
Mm.
not in those instances, in those scenes, there really wasn't a lot of notes. There really wasn't a lot of takes. I mean,
Hmm.
mostly because I didn't really want to make them keep doing it. But again,
Yeah.
like I was just confident in the fact that these are the right people and they're going to do what they need to do. And ultimately, like, it's right.
Mm.
Now, if they like, were hiding their head, or like if they, did something that like I
Yeah.
just small corrections, whatever, we do it again. But like, it's not a torturous uh um endeavor. It doesn't have to be. To me, it doesn't necessarily
Mm.
have to be. So people definitely had their own ways of getting there. and I just made room for it. That's all you can do. You just
Right,
make
right.
room for the experience and the environment. And it really it comes through. Like when you have, I keep reiterating this, but when you have the right people, like you
Mm.
can really be hands off and let it happen. And when it's happening in front of you and you like really don't have to do much, it's like the most fucking exciting thing in the world.
Oh yeah, I can imagine. Sort of just like you're just like setting everything up and then like letting it go and seeing the experiment unfold. Yeah, that's really cool.
Totally. Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh,
So I'm oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying it was definitely, I don't mean to downplay the intensity of it. We definitely had to take some breathers and go
Yeah.
outside and stretch out and just like
Yeah.
whatever. But everybody came super correct, and I'm super grateful for everyone.
That's awesome. So I'm curious then because, as I was saying, trying to set up this film, that it feels like there's a lot of authenticity with the grief and the trauma. I mean, with this answer, you can say as much or as little as you
Mm.
want, but did any of it come from like a real experience that you had? Like, were you like, I need to tell this story so that I can heal myself from this or that, because it does feel like maybe it is related to some sort of real things you went through.
That's a very kind thing to say because I definitely I respond well to when I can, tell things are a little bit more personal and come from something real. So I appreciate that. And the answer is yes, but maybe not in the way that might make a lot of sense to a lot of people. So
Oh,
like
well.
I went through a breakup in
Okay.
the beginning, which is so
No, no,
funny
no.
to say
Yeah.
because like of how intense the movie is. But that's really where it started. So I was dating this girl for a long time, and I ended things, and I was really tortured about it. And there's a scene in the movie where there's two brothers in the film, and they're out by the car, and they're kind of talking. One is saying that he needs to leave his wife, and blah blah blah.
Right.
And like that conversation, like really is something that like was internalized in me, just kind of like trying to navigate how I was feeling. So I finally like, you know, after
Hmm.
months of torturing myself, we ended things and it was hard as it always is. And then COVID happened. And it really felt like I was being, which is like so selfish to say now, but at the time, it really felt like I was kind of being cosmically punished for trying to better my life, like,
Okay.
of
Okay.
course.
Yeah. I
Um,
get it. I get it. Yeah.
which is, again, it's silly and it's very
No, not at
self-absorbed
all.
to say, but in that wake of like obviously being super scared about the world, but also like still reeling from this big change in my life, I
Hmm.
started writing. And in the very beginning, it had what I would say is the DNA of what this movie became, but it was way, way, way more mean spirited and angry and
Oh, wow.
um just like kind of hateful toward myself, toward the world at large.
Yeah.
It was really a dumping ground of just all kinds of negativity and uh loathing, uh and
Yeah.
I don't know if I ever truly had the intention of making that movie as it
Okay.
was then. I don't
Yeah.
really know. If you'd asked me then, I probably would have said, "Fuck yeah, I'm making this movie, and everyone's gonna deal with it," and blah blah
Yeah, yeah,
blah.
yeah, yeah.
But I'm like obviously so fucking thankful that I didn't make that movie because
Right.
like whatever. But that is really how it started, and I from the very beginning, it was kind of this idea of like the old saying, "No good deed goes unpunished," and like the
Mm,
world doesn't care if you have the best intentions, and like things are going to happen the way they happen, and they're all going to be terrible. Like all of that stuff, like those seeds were planted obviously like super early. A lot of them like stayed through. It's obviously a very bleak movie, and you can tie those strings from where it began. But like what happened in the movie, and like the set pieces and the violence was just like way, way, way over the top and just like nasty.
yeah. That's kind of where like more of your older stuff comes from. I think your older films are a little bit more like leaning into that aspect, whereas this film is a lot more balanced, even though it's extremely brutal at times. But maybe you didn't feel like you had to go in that direction, like you had healed yourself from that point. You're now a new person making this new film. That's a new chapter of your life.
Yeah, I mean, I put it away, and like in the interim, but between starting to write it and like digging it back up and reworking it, I had made Freak and Sleazo. So like
Oh,
I
okay.
was so like kind of busy with other things, and I didn't really think about it as much.
Mm,
And then when it was kind of time to think about making another movie, it was it wasn't in any kind of like complete shape, because again it was just like this pile of like shit. So I reworked it, and really like I'm super thankful that whatever made me um realize what it could be, and like take it for its potential rather than what was actually on the page. What I was left with
yeah,
was the themes that were always there, like of you know grief, or anger, or feeling like what you do isn't good enough, and fear of decision and fear of indecision, and like all of these things are very much still in the movie, but in a way that I think doesn't cheapen it to me in any way, and like
mm,
really the violence is only there because none of it is gratuitous to me.
okay,
And that was like super important to me, is that like I just wanted it to be intentional. I wanted it to be I wanted to earn it. And
yeah.
the way that it was before, there was no earning it. It was just like, I'm just going to be shocking. I'm just going to be gross. I'm just going to, you know what I mean? So,
Wow. Okay. Okay. No, that's really fascinating. I mean, because as someone who has seen the whole film and hearing your explanation about where it came from, I kind of see the film in a different light now. And I
mm,
also, okay, and we cut this out if it's too much of a spoiler, but
yeah, yeah, yeah.
there's like a weird level of hope in a way. I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
I, yeah,
Maybe
I
we
guess
need
it
to scrap
depends.
that.
No, 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 no.
Okay.
I
Okay.
guess it depends on what your idea of hope is, and like
Okay.
what that looks like. I don't I didn't want to pick a side, I guess, in that instance. I didn't want there to be like necessarily I didn't want it to be me being like, and see, maybe it'll be okay. And then but I also didn't want it to be like nothing's ever going to be okay ever again. Everything is horrible. I just kind of left it.
Yeah.
Just kind of
But
left it.
okay. And this I will cut out. Okay, so back to this talk about yeah. Yeah, it's definitely a hard film to talk about without wanting to go into the weeds of it. And I think that's a big compliment of it. But I also think too, like a lot of like really original horror films that have been coming out the past few years are kind of like that, where it's like
Mm,
really you want the audience to go in without knowing anything at all, so it's almost like we have to talk about it more in terms of like the influences and you
sure.
know what I mean, like the
Hmm.
aesthetic and everything. It did kind of remind me kind of like of mid 2000s era horror, but in
Mm,
the best way possible. Like one of the films that came to mind was the Hills of Eyes remake.
love that remake.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's definitely one of the best films I'd say that came out of that whole era, which is sort of a divisive era, I think, for a lot of horror fans. But for you, going into like writing it, creating, like, what were your influences? Were there any specific directors or films that kind of like you're thinking, I want to emulate?
Again, the writing process of it was pretty atypical for me, especially because it kind of started out as this weird amalgamation of just like things that happen that were horrible, and then just it was when I got to the actual writing process of what became the shooting script. It was really about finding appropriate connective tissue and
Okay.
softening the edges, as silly as that might sound, and like
No, no.
just kind of making it into an actual movie. So those kind of influency sort of thoughts didn't really enter my brain until like I was starting to think about like, okay, this is an actual movie now, and we're like kind of getting into um more
Like
of
the
a
marketing?
well, not even that, but like in shooting it and what it would look like and what it would feel
Oh,
like
okay.
and things like that. So I really um I wanted it to kind of have the feel and the DNA of these movies from like the 70s, where you're kind
Hmm.
of getting the more bleaker outlook. You're kind of getting the anti-heroes, you're kind of getting the um just a little bit more gritty cinema, coming in
Hmm.
the 70s and things like that. I mean, obviously things like Texas Chainsaw, there's a lot of nods to that in this movie. I mean, it's like one of my favorite movies of all time, so like
Yeah.
it's hard to escape that. And like with the quote unquote, hick family uh parallels. I mean, it's not that movie, but you
No,
kind of
no.
it's hard to kind of escape that sort of thing. But then I thought about movies that in more recent times kind of tap into that as well. Movies like Martyrs, movies like
Okay.
Killing of a Sacred Deer,
Ooh, okay.
Funny Games, stuff like that, where it's just
Yeah.
like, oh, this is an intense experience that I'm having. Um, and not shying away from that necessarily and feeling like, oh, are people not gonna fuck with this? Are people gonna, are people gonna be
Yeah.
mad at me? Are people gonna like feel like they're being punished? Like all of that like kind of has to be tuned out, and I just wanted to make the movie that I thought that it needed to be.
Mm.
So definitely like those sorts of things, but like your um very kind comparison to S. Craig Zoller and uh, those guys, that is like very, very, very high praise to me because they make
Mm.
really fucking cool movies
Yeah,
and
yeah.
intense movies, and that's really fucking awesome. So
Yeah.
definitely like that ilk. I wanted to
Yeah.
have that grittiness, but also like it's a modern movie, so like having it feel modern.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, Green Room did come to mind. There's a
Green Room is fucking
certain
awesome.
Oh, it's incredible. Like, a certain sort of, like, tension and sort of back and forth interplay
Mm.
that happens in your film that made me think of that. In terms of S. Craig Zoller, I mean, I think for him, it wasn't like a specific film, but it was just this whole idea of, okay, you've got like a horror genre exploitation film, but then you're fleshing it out more and you're strengthening the drama and the characters, and you're getting a bit more of a story. And I think maybe if this was like 10 or 20 years ago, I'd be like, oh, like Tarantino, but I've
Oh,
gotten
sure.
sick of using that as a reference. And I don't
Yeah,
know if
right, right, right.
yeah, I don't know if I don't see your film as like a Tarantino film, really. I don't know. It feels a bit more like legitimately a horror film. It doesn't feel like an homage in any
Mm.
way. But it did, as I said earlier, like it brought me back to mid 2000s, like something about the mean spiritedness of, because like the violence is pretty mean spirited at times. And it is a very bleak film, but yeah.
I it was important to me to have it be everybody's worst day ever.
Okay, okay. So
You know what I
I
mean?
mean,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
nobody in that movie is having a good day.
Right. There's not a lot of there isn't really a lot of if I remember correctly, humor to it. Like
Yeah,
it's
I mean,
pretty
yeah,
dark the whole time. It's very miserable, but I think it's earned because of how like twisted it gets, And it's not it I was thinking about this earlier, like there's not really a certain point in the film where I ever stopped and went, "Okay, now we're just getting into a horror movie." Like
sure.
every chapter is sort of like, "Oh, what's gonna happen here? Oh, what's gonna happen here?"
Yeah, and it's funny that you say there's no humor in it. I tend to agree. I don't really find there to be a lot of humor in it,
Wait,
but
except you. You're
oh,
hilarious,
yeah,
yeah.
I mean, whatever. I, when I was giving the script, the first draft out to folks for notes and things like that, um, there were a couple instances where some people that I gave the script to would uh, write me back and say, "I think this is funny. Is this funny?" And
Oh,
at
wow.
first, I was really almost like offended by that. And I was like, "Can you
Okay.
explain what you mean by do you
Yeah.
think this is funny?" And they're like, "Well, it's so bleak and it's so punishing
Mm.
at times, and then it's just over, and then, and not to, get into spoilers, but like there is a button that's like, oh, what the fuck, like,
Yeah.
and and their reaction to that, just like this domino effect of awful things, is that like, oh, this is how could this not be funny? This is so horrible that it
Right.
circles back around to being funny.
Oh, okay.
And when they said that, I was like, well, I can't really be mad about that. But I don't necessarily find it to be a very funny movie. But
No.
um, if that is a reaction, like, far be it from me to say that that's incorrect, because
Right.
I definitely, like, there is the, like, fear response or trauma response, I guess, of like laughter. That's like definitely a thing. So,
Sure.
you know, I it's not really for me to say anymore. I
Mm.
made the movie, and it's not, when it comes out, it's not necessarily mine anymore. So,
I see what you're saying.
um
Yeah, yeah. But you said this was based on a first draft, right? That people found it funny?
yeah, yeah, which, like, other
Okay.
than one thing which we talked about offline, it's pretty much the same movie, just like that
Oh,
one little
okay. Hmm.
tweak. Not the extreme version, like the first draft of the movie that was made.
Right. Yeah, 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 yeah. No,
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
get what
okay,
you're saying.
alright.
But I think that maybe it was in terms of you like how you executed it that probably pulled back maybe what people considered funny. Cause
Yeah, I mean,
it's got a good eerie atmosphere the whole time that I
mm.
think sort of informs the audience like, oh, this isn't meant to be funny necessarily.
Yeah,
Um
and I wonder if, like, hearing that put a chip on my shoulder going into shooting it, that, like, I am
hmm.
not, like, we are not making a fucking comedy here, I don't
Yeah.
think it did, I whatever, but it is interesting. And again,
Yeah.
like, if I hear that when people watch it, like, I just gotta let that go.
But you also I no, 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 for sure, but I think, also it would have come down to, like, the editing and the pacing too,
Mm,
whereas I think if it was intended to be funny, it would have had more of, like, a quicker pace, a little bit more of, like, a snappiness to it.
sure.
There's this film that came out, past few years, The Coffee Table, are you familiar with it?
I have seen The Coffee Table.
Okay. So that is Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say people. I heard before I watched it, and I think it was even under like black comedy.
Yeah.
I did not find that funny at all.
At all? Okay, okay.
I
I
did not find
mean,
that funny one bit. That was
okay.
like, and I'm not saying I didn't like the movie. I thought the
Sure.
movie was fine. I
Yeah.
did not find it funny.
Okay, okay.
I did not
I
find it
no,
funny.
that I mean, fair. And I think I kind of went back and forth. And it
Mm,
was weird because there are certain moments where I guess, yeah, it was so bleak that I couldn't help but laugh because it felt so bleak that it was clever. And do you know what I
sure.
mean? Like, where
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
it's almost contrived in a way. And I think maybe, yeah, okay, so that's what it was. Your film it didn't really feel like clever or contrived in how bleak it got. It felt
Mm,
more authentic with the
sure.
bleakness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think that's a good way to put it, and that makes me happy to hear because again, like I didn't go into it wanting it to be like necessarily like a commentary on anything or like, this like
Yeah.
I didn't have an angle to it to like try to, whatever. It was just
Yeah.
I just wanted to present it, and like this is what happened and it's all
Right.
terrible and goodbye.
Yeah, I didn't really get a sense that there was any sort of like it wasn't like a political satire or anything. But
Sure.
one thing that does come to mind about it, I don't know if you're familiar with the book Men, Women, and Chainsaws.
I'm familiar with the book for sure, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's definitely worth reading at some point. It's great. And there's a chapter on it about horror movies that deal with like the backwoods terror, like like
Mm,
Deliverance and things like that.
sure.
And a lot of what the author Carol J. Clover is getting at with those types of films. She's trying to say how a lot of it has to do with this idea of the fear of industrialization and also almost like the fear of the other in these
Sure.
backwoods communities, and so that did kind of come to mind that like they're coming from what I'm guessing is more of like a downtown like urban part of New York. Is that right, the characters?
I mean, yeah, I don't ever really place it, but yeah, there is some dialogue when they're like at the diner and they're sitting down. There's definitely like you're from the city or like whatever, whatever. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? All of that.
yeah,
So
yeah.
that's fair for sure.
Yeah, but it's interesting too, and like I can cut this if you need me to, but outside of one moment involving the family that runs the diner, I thought that your treatment of the family was actually fairly warm and like they seemed like decent people to a certain extent.
I mean, and I think that thank you for saying that, and I think that
Yeah.
goes back to my initial, importance on this affects everybody in this movie. And
Hmm.
I think that when we first like meet the family who runs the diner, it's really easy and your gut reaction to write off the movie as something like, oh, I know where this is going. These are the
Yeah.
bad guys. These are the good guys. Blah blah blah. I don't shy away from that in the beginning, and I kind of like tease you with that kind of,
Yeah.
I give you the breadcrumbs to take it there if you want to, but then when shit starts happening, it's really to me super apparent that like, oh no, this is just a family who like, yes, might be a little different, yes, might, are like super small town, redneck, Hicksville, whatever you want to say. But like,
Hmm.
they're just like anybody else. They would react to these things just like anybody would. Maybe not anybody, but you know what I'm
Okay.
saying?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. Yeah.
they
Yeah.
will have reactions to things. They're not the bad guys. They're not the villains of this movie. Everybody is reacting in a way that whether or it's right or wrong or whatever, they are reacting in the way that they feel like they need to in any
Okay.
specific thing. So, you know, and I think that is cool because it gives you the opportunity to kind of see yourself in everybody rather than, well, obviously I would never do that, so I must be a good guy, or I would definitely do this, so I, whatever. It
Yeah.
gives you an avenue to kind of think about things differently to me,
I would agree, and I would also say people watching the film, I think you'll if you like ran a poll for every kind of big moment,
Mm,
you would get like a mix of answers from people of like what they would do in those situations, like the inciting incident that happens that really
mm,
sets the whole thing in motion. I think there are people that would do option A, and I think people would do option B, and they would have very believable answers for either side, and I think the film continues on that path all the way through, and it's sort of, so it's, I think I was trying to say this earlier of like this narrative that just flows, and it's because like every moment just kind of ricochets off each other of like, and
sure,
so things escalate, and it's never escalating because you have this otherworldly presence that's like a villain, like a horror movie villain. You have
totally,
basically an escalation of violence, like that to me would be the any if you had any kind of like political agenda, or not agenda, but you're like trying to
totally.
make a statement about the film, it really is about like violence, like the escalation of violence, the idea of like
Yeah,
how do we justify violence, when is it ever justified, you know what I mean, and like how that can never be easily defined.
totally. Yeah, it was super interesting to me to kind of explore how people would react. And since the movie's been done and all the way through the process, I have definitely heard people being like, well, I wouldn't do this. And, he should have done this, or they should, I wouldn't have done that, and blah, blah, blah. And like, my answer to that is like, I hope that nobody is ever in a situation where they have to figure out what they
Yeah.
would do and what they
Yeah.
wouldn't do in this, you know what I mean? So like,
Yeah.
sorry if it didn't align with what you feel like you would do now when you're like on your couch, or like,
Oh,
whatever.
they were like criticizing the film?
It's not necessarily a criticism, but it's hard for people not to have that reaction when they're watching something that is very much uh a domino effect sort of a thing, where it's like one decision triggers. Um it's like hard to, I think about this movie Frozen, the Adam Green movie
Oh, okay.
Frozen,
I haven't
stuck on
seen
the
it.
ski lift. Yeah, it's these
Yeah.
skiers that get stuck on a big chairlift. And again, it's like a survival horror movie. I love it. You just watch it. It's amazing. But
Okay, cool.
um but it's one of those things, and I've heard him talk about it in the way of like, everybody has like oh, I would, I wouldn't have jumped, I would have waited, or I would, all of this, all of that.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like, nobody does anybody really know what they would do when push comes to shove. Like, I don't think
Mm.
so, I really
Yeah.
don't think so. And you never will know until you have to do it. And
Right.
again, I hope nobody has to find
Yeah.
out. But it's interesting to me. And yeah, in terms of it, like, in terms of whatever the horror or the villain would be, like, I think it's the situation is the villain. The
Yeah.
circumstance is the
Right.
villain.
Yeah,
Um
yeah.
Everything else, people, it's happening to people. So,
Right. This is kind of a heavy anecdote to drop, but you just made me think of something that I heard on a podcast a while ago. It was an interview with a survivor of the Pulse nightclub shooting that happened. Do you
yeah.
remember that?
Uh-huh.
In Miami, was it? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
So this guy who survived, he was saying how there was a point where he had to like run from underneath a table to the bathroom, and he was saying how he got up to run, and as he was running, he kept tripping constantly on his way, and he was making light of the situation by saying, all the times that you watch horror movies and you're like criticizing the person in the film for tripping a million times. He's like, it's true. It is all true. Like when you're in those moments, you do not get to act the way that you think you would while you're sitting in a theater,
yeah.
and just him making that joke about it, making light of it, I thought was so poignant. It's like I think realistically, when danger happens, we aren't able to tap into our normal faculties like we normally
For sure. And
would.
like, things are. are triggered in your brain that like aren't triggered when you're not in a life or death situation. Like
Yeah.
you can't tap into that. You're not able to as a human being. Your adrenaline, or I don't even know, whatever. But
Yeah. Yeah.
you can't you can't know. So I definitely like use
Yeah.
that to my advantage. And as horror filmmakers do, you kind of have to make it up or get as close as you think you can get. And at the end of the
Mm.
day, like it's a horror movie. Like I wanted to add some stuff that is a little bit horror movie like,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
just gonna, it's a
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah.
So
Get over
fuck
it.
you.
Yeah. Yeah. So you, as you're saying earlier, it is in a way like a breakup inspired film then. It seems
Mm,
then like there was, because there's the inciting incident that happens in it. Um seems like it really like it infects all the characters with like a massive level of guilt, you know?
mm.
And then the film is basically feels like this journey to maybe erase the guilt and maybe discover that you can't in a way. And I'm just wondering, like, was that kind of like the journey for you? I guess writing in a way. Like, did you feel like it sounds like you did because you were saying how like COVID felt like this world, like the world was like punishing you for that.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely live with a probably an unhealthy amount of just anxiety and guilt and
Okay.
worry and fear, in general. But when I again like with uh in how it relates to this movie, I do definitely have a fear of decision and indecision
Mm.
and the
Okay,
balance
okay.
between those two things. And when I make a decision that I think is the right thing to do, and it has an effect or it has a consequence or something, that I didn't foresee, uh, there is a massive amount of guilt sometimes that comes with that. And
Mm.
in how it relates to a breakup, as everybody
Yeah.
has gone through, you don't ever want to make somebody feel bad. You don't want to ever make somebody cry or hurt or whatever, but that comes with
Yeah.
the territory when it comes to that sort of a thing. So, yeah, I mean, it wasn't the level of guilt that these characters obviously are going through. But, you know, being able to tap into that was definitely important to me in carrying out the story. And that theme and the idea of um whatever is going to happen doesn't really care what you wanted to happen or what you thought was the right thing or whatever, like, which is like super brutal and bleak and nihilistic or whatever you want to say. But like, it's an interesting thought to have in terms of
Yeah.
like, yeah, I mean, you can try, but like shit's gonna happen and it's probably gonna be bad. So I mean, whatever, that's definitely
Yeah.
like kind of the vibe.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to talk about without getting to the specifics or spoiling anything.
I mean,
Um,
if this helps at all, the inciting incident I've is in the little synopsis. Not detail wise, but like a car accident, like they kill
yeah.
somebody in a car. Like that is like, I don't know
I
if that will help you explain anything
Oh, yeah,
or
yeah, yeah.
ask
Well,
anything.
that yeah, to some extent, right? Like, but I
Sure.
mean, the operative word here would be accident, right? I mean,
Mm,
it's an accident, and clearly you should feel guilty if you were in that situation. There should be, yeah, of course, a little bit of guilt, but to the extent that the world then punishes you, do you know what I mean? Like, it
mhm.
sounds like the guilt that you would feel probably would be enough, you know? And so it almost sounds like the film is this like extreme version of like the world's punishment for that. Which maybe I could see being kind of something that you would relate to in a way where it's like you had to come out the other side to realize like, oh, actually it's okay to feel a little guilty, but I probably punished myself more than I needed to.
Totally, totally. I'm very, very,
Okay.
very, very, guilty of that. I,
Yeah.
definitely, um, beat it to death, long
Yeah.
after it
Yeah.
should have been dead. But again, like, interestingly, to me, in the context of the film, like, it has ripple effects on other people, obviously, and those other
Oh,
people will
true.
have
Yeah.
impact to what goes on. So it's like really like it all is like this feedback loop of this one thing that happened, but it reaches so much further, you know.
Yeah.
And that was like super fun to play with in terms of,
Mm.
themes of revenge and themes of uh, you know, thinking that there's even a line in the movie about like being a punishment and like being the catalyst for doing putting things back the way they should be and like all of this stuff, which is like,
Mm.
you know, super fun and interesting and makes for,
But
different choices, I guess.
yeah, I mean, your film is sort of this example of like people trying to restore the balance with
Mm,
violence, and then realizing that that doesn't exist. Like
right.
I come away from your film feeling like it's very anti-violence. You know, even though it shows extreme violence, it's very anti-violence. It's very anti-revenge to an extent. You know, because once you start that path of violence, like when does it end? How does it
Yeah.
end? It never will end.
Yeah, that's interesting. I've never heard that. Um,
Yeah.
but I wouldn't disagree with you necessarily. And I think it's definitely like pro de-escalation. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay.
Like,
Okay.
um, which like kind of goes hand in hand, but
Yeah.
yeah, I that's interesting. I'm
Hmm.
definitely like uh, by and large like pretty against violent. I'm not like a Quaker or anything, but like
Right.
I think that 99% of the world's violence is like not the the way to go.
Totally. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, if that comes through, then that's interesting. I hadn't really thought about that. i'm
Yeah.
not
I mean,
i'm not anti cinema violence. I am pro
no,
cinema
no.
violence.
Yeah, I mean the film is really revels in it. Well, I shouldn't say revels. It is tasteful. It is tasteful. You
Oh,
know,
thank
like
you, thank you.
well, okay, not taste. Okay, it's weird. It's not tasteful, but it isn't. You said the word earlier, gratuitous. What it happens is extreme and disturbing and
Mm,
upsetting, but you don't usually extend the sequence on and on and on or anything like that. You know,
yeah.
like it's which I mean, I think it helps with the whole angle of what you're saying of how it's like a drama with violence. You know, it's like horror being sprinkled on top of drama, essentially.
Yeah,
You know.
I didn't want to cheapen the violence by making it overstay its welcome. I
Mm,
think that when you get into movies that have like a Terrifier or like, pick whatever kind of violent movie you want, if it's really drawn out and it's really, just a spectacle and a showcase of effects and gore and stuff, I love those. But it kind of creates a disconnect between uh
mm.
the story and the viewer, because subconsciously you become very aware that, oh, this can't possibly be, real. Obviously,
Yeah.
I'm not trying to fool anybody. It's a movie, but like there is definitely like a disconnect that happens when violence is the vehicle, like when the story is the
Yeah.
vehicle for violence,
Yeah.
rather than the other way around, which I didn't want.
Right. Yeah. No, no, no. That makes a lot of sense because it takes you out. It starts
Mhm.
making you think like, do I even need to really invest myself in this situation or these characters? Especially since like at that point you're probably really enjoying the violence. Whereas Whereas in this
Sure.
film, you don't really want to see the violence happening in a way, but only because you care about the characters.
Right, right. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, you don't go to a slasher movie hoping that, everybody gets along and everybody has a good time. You're like, "No, I wanna see
Yeah.
these kids get eviscerated." Which is,
Right,
like,
right.
great, I love those movies too, but this just wasn't
Right.
that.
Do you think now that you've done Box Cutter that your next project you might go back towards that side of things?
So, I've been thinking about this a lot now that, I've kind of completed this part of the journey for this movie.
Yeah,
Because I'm like a shark. I can't stop swimming. I
I
gotta
get
like
it.
always have something. Um, I'm like kind of bouncing back and forth between two things right now. Both are like kind of in the same level of development. There's no script or anything for either, but one, which is kind of feeling like it's going to win out in the end, is kind of what I have been calling like a spiritual
Hmm,
sibling or a spiritual sequel to Box Cutter. Not it's not any continuation of the story or anything like that, but just in terms of the feeling and the overall vibe of it. Although it will be a horror movie in a very traditional sense of the word,
okay.
but just how I like to do it and kind of in line with more story, character, grounded, driven foundation, and then building on to that.
Mm.
But definitely in line with more of a traditional, like, oh, this is a horror movie.
So I watched your films when I first bought them a couple years ago, and there was one film that was like maybe a little bit similar, right? Kindness of Strangers.
Kindness of Strangers has a lot of similarities to Box Cutter.
Okay, yeah, that's what I
A
thought.
lot.
Okay, so it's almost like would the third film then be part of like a trilogy of these films?
I mean, Kindness of Strangers was definitely it was the first thing I ever made, as a
Oh, okay.
director. I did not know what I was doing. It more so has the connection. I mean, Kindness of Strangers, like to me, is a horror movie, and
Mhm.
it's very much just like me trying to do my,
Yeah.
nasty like home invasion flipped on its head sort of a thing. Um,
Right.
but the connections to Box Cutter are, uh, it's the same basement. Funny enough,
Oh, okay, crazy.
um, it's the same basement. Leslie Dame, who is in Kindness of Strangers, is in Box Cutter. She plays the mother of the diner family.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
yeah,
Hmm.
she's in everything that I do. Wonderful.
Mm.
As far as like true connective tissue, though, in terms of
Mm.
the movies themselves, I don't know about like a trilogy or anything like that. I more so just mean that like whatever kind of attitude and um I don't even know what I'm trying to say. Just overall kind of tone from Box Cutter that works in the context of that movie and what I think is the most effective part of it, which is like, that feeling of connection and groundedness. That is
Mm.
what will carry over into what I do next. Because I think that is, I mean, to me, I don't want to like wax my own car or whatever, but like that is where I feel the most confident in the story that I'm telling is if I have that foundation to be the like guiding thing,
Okay.
so that will carry over.
Okay.
Other than that, it won't necessarily, there won't be any sort of like other correlation or anything like that.
Okay. And you said there was another project that you had stewing right now.
Yeah, that is kind of like something totally different. Um, I've always really wanted to set a movie in a trailer park.
Ooh.
Um, and I wanted it. I'm really like I love like John Waters and like Harmony Korine
Oh, hell
sort of
yeah.
thing. So like I
Yeah.
really want to tap into that
Okay.
um sort of that feeling that I get and the that aesthetic kind of. I just kind of want to see what I can do with that
Hmm.
in my own sort of lane in my own brain.
Right. Yeah,
So
yeah.
that is kind of like where that is going.
Did you grow up in, like, a more rural part of America?
Oh yeah,
Oh, okay.
I grew up almost in your neck of the woods. I don't know where in Canada you are, but
I'm I I'm in Toronto.
okay, I grew up
Yeah.
about an hour from the Montreal border.
Oh, you're Canadian.
I'm
Oh,
not. No,
shit,
no, no,
okay.
no.
So
I'm
you Oh,
New
oh.
York, but like, yeah, an hour from the
Oh,
border
wait.
into Montreal.
Oh, okay. That's so confusing.
So,
Wait,
like,
in New
upstate New
York?
York, Lake Placid, New
Okay,
York
right.
is where I'm from, and if you were to drive even like and
Uh,
it's like an hour and change up north, you'd
okay.
get into Montreal.
Okay, yeah, so you're, like, all the way up here, kind of? I'm trying
Yeah, yeah,
to
yeah, yeah.
picture how
I'm up there.
Ontario is. Okay, because
I'm up
I grew up in the burbs of, like, New it's a town called Newmarket, which is an hour
there. Okay.
outside of Toronto, and then I moved to Toronto in 2008. So I've pretty
Oh, okay.
much been here for almost 20 years.
Sure.
But okay, so you grew up in more, so that makes sense. Like you grew up in more of a rural area. Because I think it would be different if you grew up in New York, more of like a downtown part of New York, and then you want
Yeah.
to make these so many films about like backwoods families in a trailer park. I'm just like, y- I don't know, like where's the intention with that? But it's because you grew up around culture
Yeah,
like
I
that
mean
in a way. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
the place that I grew up, there are definitely, like, affluent parts of it. It's a tourist town for sure, but
Okay.
there is a big, gap in how people live. So,
Sure.
I definitely, like and I always felt, like, super uncomfortable, living there. It was a nice place to grow
Mm.
up, but, like, I'm definitely like geared more toward living in a city.
Yeah, same.
So I just there was always that discomfort of like everybody knowing who you are and like all of this, sort of small town stuff that comes along with it.
Yeah.
So I just yeah, it's always, I I don't know. There's
Hmm.
always probably going to be a fucking redneck in one of my movies.
But I want to see you do like the New York gritty, like urban kind of horror
I'd
film too
love
at some
to.
point.
I'd love to. If somebody wanted to give me the budget to shoot in New York, I would not say
Oh,
no.
true. Well, I mean, with Boxcutter, hopefully, you get that amazing distribution you want and heads start turning and money starts rolling in. And maybe that's the project you can pitch next?
Man, wouldn't that be nice? I would
Yeah.
really, I'd love that. I can't go into it with any expectations because I don't want to get heartbroken. But,
Right.
as far as a calling card or as far as like a proof of concept or whatever you want to say, a proof of any kind of ability, whatever that means, I'm glad that Box Cutter exists for sure, if nothing else.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's kind of the nice thing about this situation you're in is that, you know, uh, I don't know what will happen next, but you still
Mm,
have an amazing movie. Do you know what I mean? Like
for sure,
people
for
will get to
sure.
experience that movie regardless. Whatever avenue it has to take, they will get to see it and they will love it. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm definitely thankful that because I know folks now that go the route of like, oh, I have this really great script. Now give me the money to make the movie. That is way
Oh,
harder than trying to
yeah.
find the money. I mean, trying to find the money is horrible and very hard. But,
Okay.
if you end up with a product, you can be like, hey, no, you don't have to do any work. It's all done. You could just buy it if you want. So
Right,
that
right,
is
right.
like, I'm thankful that I went that way rather than the other.
Nice. Okay, I want to ask you one last question about the film, and then maybe ask you a bit about some metal.
Oh,
We
sure.
can
Yeah, yeah,
talk
yeah.
about that. But yeah, no,
Yeah.
I'm just curious. So you did call the movie Box Cutter, and I think that helps give people the wrong impression about the film
Mm.
in the
Mhm.
right way. But is there a reason that you had for calling it Box Cutter?
So it kind of went through a lot of different names, not a lot, a few. When it was the dumping ground script, when it was the really angry one, I was calling it "Bring Me the Head of God," which is like
Yeah.
so brutal,
Yeah.
so edge lord, so brutal.
Yeah.
Um, and then when I like was starting to rework it and make it into what it is, it was called "The Boy in the Road," which like is kind of the uh you know, not a spoiler, but like you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Um, and then I didn't like. I wanted a one word title, and it came pretty organically. I was like, okay, well, box cutter, the tool, yes, but also like box cutter, the person who cuts the boxes. And I thought that that was interesting. And yeah, it kind of like sounds like a slasher movie, and it's you
Mm.
know, it could be any number of things.
Yeah,
And
it's
I think that
misdirection in
yeah,
a
but
way. Yeah.
yeah, I don't know how intentional that particularly was, but I definitely wanted it to be ambiguous enough to that it could fit the movie that it is, you know.
Yeah.
Um like if it was like the box cutter killer, like that would be
Yeah.
misdirection and people would be like, what the fuck?
Totally. Yeah, yeah.
But like box cutter, I feel like is like, you know, it could
Yeah.
be whatever and you'd be fine with it.
I like to think of it as I mean, we were talking about this earlier that like the villain of the film is kind of violence itself.
Mm,
And so it's like box cutter, calling the film box cutter is sort of alluding to that it's this tool for violence. It doesn't matter who is holding the box cutter. Do you know what I mean?
I love that.
But it is also a tool to cut a box. So
Sure.
maybe sometimes violence is necessary. Maybe it's not. It
That's
depends on who's
interesting.
holding it, you know?
Right, right, right. Oh,
Yeah.
wow, I love that. I love that.
Okay. It's yours. Take it.
Love that very much. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
If you hear
Work it
me
in.
say that, I'll do a little tip of my cap to you, Bob. Thank you.
Well, I think. But yeah, that was just what I wanted to ask you about the
That's
title.
awesome.
But
Yeah,
now,
for
yeah,
sure.
cool, cool. But yeah, metal this year. What
Mhm.
have what have some albums been that you've been enjoying?
I have really been trying to kinda go backward. I try to keep up with things that are coming out now. I'm really loving the new Gruesome album. I saw them a couple nights ago.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
Silent Echoes is the record. Um, I'm Death is one of my favorite bands of all time.
Ah, okay.
And to see them just kind of Are you familiar with the band?
Yeah, I was actually trying to think like, how do I know them? Oh, yeah, the band that everyone refers to as like the new death, kind of like
Yeah.
they're trying to ape that sound somewhat.
Yeah, I mean, and it's totally what I love about that is that it's 100% the intention behind the band rather than
Hmm.
like, I know bands not necessarily in the metal space, but like I know bands that definitely have a sound that is ripped, right? I think of that band Greta Van Fleet. Have you ever heard of this
Oh,
band?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So they sound just like Led Zeppelin, but
Sure.
they refuse to say that. They're like, "No, we're inspired by like Aerosmith and like Steven Tyler." And this guy could not sound any more like Robert Plant if he tried.
Okay.
And I'm like, "Dude, you just gotta like be like, oh my god, yeah, like they're a
Yeah.
huge important band and it's just like shut up." But
Right, right.
that's not the case with Gruesome, and that new album is really amazing.
There's
I
another
don't.
band that's like that. I want to say Vector, who are kind of like doing the same thing as Voivod.
Oh, sure, okay, all right.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
I know Voivod. I'm not familiar with Vector
I
though.
think it's Vector. I could be wrong,
Okay.
but they have a name. They're like basically like a sci-fi cosmic thrash kind of band.
Do they have the
So
same logo, the Voivod logo? It's
they
such a
might.
iconic logo.
Like the same
Um,
font or something,
yeah,
maybe.
right, right, right.
I think so, yeah.
That's hilarious. I love that. Yeah, I mean, we were talking before because of my shirt, but,
Oh, yeah.
been really loving Pissgrave lately. I found an album by a band. It was last year this album came out, and it was my favorite album of last year. This grind band called Knoll. Are you familiar?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, yeah, I saw them February, when did the album come out? Last year?
I believe it
2024?
was last year.
Yeah, I
I
saw
could
them
be
February 2024 with,
okay.
Fantastactive.
Oh man, their live show is incredible. With all of the
Yeah.
like lamps and shit on stage.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
my god, that album is really great. But yeah, I mean, going back, been listening to a lot of like Cenotaph.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. They have
I saw them at Maryland Death Fest last year, so just kind of going back and listening
yeah.
to that
I
stuff.
I have
Um,
one of their albums I got recently, Perverse Dehumanized Dysfunctions from 2017.
okay, okay. A more recent
Excellent.
one, nice. Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
really.
okay.
Yeah, I mean, they've been around a minute. They've been
Yeah.
around a while. Lately, I've kind of been digging. I haven't really been. I mean, I love brutal death metal. Like, I love Cryptopsy and Suffocation and Devourment and all of that. But like
Mm.
recent, um, brutal death, I'm not really like too plugged in, so I've been trying to kind of go back and listen to some of that. And there's this band that I randomly found that I really love. They're called Child Cemetery. Are you familiar?
That's a great
I
name.
know, so
Never heard
so
of
brutal.
them, no.
Oh, really, really
Yeah.
great. Really, really great. But do you know Brandon Terry? You know Brandon
Yeah,
from
so
like the groups and whatever.
he used to do a podcast a few years ago, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he
I
had
used to
one.
listen to that one.
Uh-huh, morbid horror, but he really loves, like, New Standard Elite and, like, all of
I do
those, like
too.
oh, you
Yeah.
okay, alright.
Yeah.
Well, like, he'll send me stuff kind of, frequently and to dig into. I had no idea who Heinous Killings were. They're not on New Standard Elite, but, like,
Okay.
that Italian band, Heinous Killings, with, like, the
Okay.
raptor or, like, predator vocals or whatever.
Oh,
Um
okay, I gotta look them up.
Insane. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hung with Barbed Wire, Hanged with Barbed Wire, something like that is the record.
Okay.
Pretty
Cool.
great. Pretty fucking
Sick.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just, I'm all over the place. When I was writing Boxcutter, to bring it back, it was a lot of, like, really depressing, like, black metal, like Silencer
Sure.
and Weeping and, all of
Yeah.
this, like, really heavy, just bleak, like washing over you sort of shit,
Okay.
abruptum and stuff like that. But now I'm kind of, I go through like seasons of music. I'm like, all right, well, I'm really gonna dive into thrash now, and I'm really,
Sure.
I'm gonna go back and listen to death metal now, and like, oh, whatever. Now it's like black metal. I kind of
Yeah.
like I'm all over the place.
Yeah, right on,
What
right
about
on.
you? What have you been listening to lately?
I mean, it's been kind of a weird year for full lengths, I'd say. I've been
Mm,
listening to more EPs by bands. I am wearing this shirt, but this band Compulsed just put out
okay.
something. Yeah, they're really good. They're like the vocals are very like dying fetusy,
Oh,
like
sure, okay.
really, really intense. Just amazing riffs. Nothing really like super groundbreaking, but yeah, just the album's fantastic. I would recommend it. They're on Iron Fortress Records.
I'm familiar.
Yeah, and so another band that I discovered through that label, Splattered Spine, they're really good. They're a little bit more like beat downy hardcore death metal, which I know is kind of a dirty word for a lot of people, but I love like I listen to mostly like death metal and hardcore. So when they are
Sure.
combined, I'm like,
Oh, yeah,
yeah, no
yeah.
problem with that. Yeah. Like I
Right,
love
right.
if you know Cruelty, that Japanese band, like I love them.
I don't
Um,
know if I do. Oh, shit. You're giving me a lot of homework.
oh,
Oh, okay,
Cruelty
alright.
with a K, yeah. Also, okay, so the new Pretridity that came out was
Oh
really
my
good.
god, so good. Very, very
Yeah,
good. Yeah,
yeah. And then right now I'm just like waiting on this new Senkosuke album to drop.
sure, sure. The
Yeah,
single is
cause
really good.
the two singles, right? The first one, look, they're both.
Oh, I didn't even know that they put out a second one. I'll have to listen to that.
So the first one had a music video that looked like Black Hole Sun, kind of like that music video with like
I didn't see the
it.
video.
Okay, so but the song you're probably talking about, is it the one with like it has a clip in the middle of like someone saying they're gonna kill their family?
Let me
Because
look it
okay,
up.
they put out another single more recently, and that to me is like their best song they've ever written. It's
Oh,
so
really?
fucking good. Yeah. So those two singles, I'm like, damn, if they
Rod
have
of
a.
Entanglement is the, one that I've heard. It seems like that's the more recent one. Oh,
Yeah, so
yeah,
that's
the one
that's
with
still okay.
okay, so I haven't heard the first one. Yeah, with Defeated Sanity on it.
Other than that, got the new Kako Thanasi, which is really good. Sounds it's like Kakothanasy. I can send you the album, but they sound a little bit more
Please.
like Disgorge.
Oh, love me some Discord.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they were. I think Parallels of Infinite Torture. That's my favorite album of theirs, and I think once hearing that a year or two ago, I was like something like clicked in my head, and I was like, "Oh, okay, this is what I want more of."
Yeah.
I know everyone's all about the first two albums, but that one to me is like the most almost accessible in a way.
Sure, sure.
I'm still pretty obsessed with the Nithing album too.
Oh
We were
my
talking about
god.
that, yeah.
Holy shit, that is too good.
Yeah.
And just, like, having it be one dude is, like it hurts my feelings. Like, oh my god. It's so
But
crazy.
like, I don't know if you've watched his, he has a YouTube channel of, like, him doing drum playthroughs,
I
and,
haven't.
he did, trying to do a playthrough of a Putridity song, and it
Mm,
was the only time that he was, like, sloppy, and it was just
wow.
such a sign that like, wow, putridity is just on another level.
For
It's kind
sure.
of terrifying how they make that music and how it just like you listen to it and you can't even begin to appreciate what's going on. You're just like, I'm
Right,
just
right,
my
right.
head's getting beaten in, you
Yeah, you just gotta
know?
dig into it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I was on Bandcamp, like, the other day, and I
Hmm.
found this album. I guess it's pretty not old, but, this band is called Pathologicum.
Okay, I never heard of them.
You should check that out. It's only
Pathologicum. Okay.
yeah, it's only available on Bandcamp. I'll send it to you. It's
Okay.
really, really, really great. Really great.
Okay. What resources do you use to find new bands and stuff?
If it's something that like I know I won't be able to find, like I'm a Spotify user, so like if it's
Same,
something I
yeah.
know that it probably won't find, um, I'll do a Bandcamp sweep and just like, oh, this looks cool,
Mm,
whatever. But mostly it's um, like either labels or
yeah.
I'm a big nuclear war now guy.
Oh, I
I
don't know
love
that.
yeah, they're out of Texas, I believe. Uh,
Okay.
Record label that like, puts out a lot of like war metal and just
Okay.
really sonically extreme stuff, which I kind of really love. But yeah, just if they post something or if another
Mm,
band is like going on tour and they're bringing out this band that I don't know. I'm like, okay, well,
right.
let me listen. Just stuff like that. I try to keep it like super organic in terms of stuff coming to me, and I like to go digging, but sometimes that can just overwhelm me, and I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna go listen
Mm.
to Cannibal Corpse for the millionth time.
Do you have a favorite Cannibal Corpse album?
Lately, it's been Vile. I really am
Oh, okay.
loving that album.
Yeah.
This might be a hot take, I don't know, but I really think that Corpse Grinder is the vocalist for that band.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree.
I mean,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
and
Yeah,
that is, like, such a strong debut. I love the Barnes records, like, I
same.
love Butchered at Birth, and I love Tomb and The Bleeding and stuff, like, I love them, but, like, I don't
Yeah,
know, dude, like, Breeding the Spawn and, like, Gallery of Suicide and, even, like, the later like, Kill and
I love
Evisceration
Kill.
Plague, they're
Yeah,
so strong and so scary and
yeah.
brutal, like, Kill is fucking awesome.
Yeah, that's my favorite album of theirs.
Kill is
I
so
think,
good.
uh I think I have an even hotter take that
Okay.
Tomb of the Mutilated is my least favorite album.
Wow, that would be a hot take. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
it's definitely
just
not my favorite, or not my least favorite, but, yeah, that's
I
interesting. Why
listen
why do you say that?
to I listen to Hammer Smash Face, and it doesn't really excite me in any way. I don't know. I just there's something about the sound of like the songs I just get really bored of on that album.
Mm.
Um, I like the one before it, Butchered at Birth. Is that what it's
Fortune
called?
of Birth is great, yeah.
Yeah, I like that one more. I like the bleeding more.
Yeah.
I think that I'm gonna get the title wrong, and and I feel awkward because my wife's in the kitchen. But it's stripped, wrangled, and killed. Straight, oh, wait,
Stripped,
stripped,
raped, and strangled, yeah.
stripped,
Yeah,
raped,
yeah,
and
yeah. Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like the
yeah.
worst title.
I'll take that
Yeah,
bullet for you, Bob.
yeah. Thank you, thank you. uh, that song to me is superior to Hammer Smash. I think that's like
Oh, I
such an
totally agree
incredible
with you. I
song.
totally agree with you.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal song, and yeah. To me, that makes sense as like the anthem for them. Hammer Smash Face, I think is was really just a matter of like time and place. Just
Ace
it was
Ventura.
in it. Yeah, like people just heard that first, and they're like, "Oh, this is the song." And I think that death metal being such a challenging genre, the idea of
Mm.
like a hit song is kind of non-existent. So
It's funny,
because
yeah,
of
it's a funny idea,
yeah. So it's sort of just like, well, what is the most just by, the opportunity it had, the
for
fact that
sure.
it got so much exposure. I'm not going to go on record saying it's like a terrible song. It's just that song and that album just haven't really done much for me whenever I listen to
Totally.
it.
It hasn't, his rhythm of the vocal, like, the vocal, "They know who I am," like, that is has
Yeah.
never really been my oh, no.
You're
What am I
thinking
thinking?
strip
Oh,
rate,
I'm
strip
thinking, yeah,
rate.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Hammer
How
Smash
does it?
Face?
"Something inside me." Right.
Yeah.
That I don't it's just fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
I'm not and going back to neither of those examples that I just gave are like they kind of lay funny on the song. Like
Yeah.
his rhythm of his vocals just aren't really that's why that era really isn't my favorite. But like
No.
the rapid hitting of Corpse Grinder's whole deal, and
Yeah.
you can understand most of the things that he says, it just like packs so much more of a punch to me. Um
Yeah. He's like almost athletic with his vocal abilities. And if you've read much about the history of the band, like I have the book on fuck, what's his name? The guy who
Scott
recorded their
Burns.
album, Scott Burns. I got that
Mhm.
book. And reading about the history of the band and like just before they made Vile and how it was like such a tumultuous period for the band and Chris Barnes, and even hearing just stories about Chris Barnes, like how he was managing their money and everything, like
Yeah,
they were better off without him.
I agree. I agree.
I think that people that are really pro Barnes for the most part, not everyone, are just because they grew up on it. It's just that
Sure,
time and place thing. So
sure. And there's something to be said about like I don't know, being thinking that like the first iteration of the band is always going to be the superior one, and I just like I never
yeah,
really subscribe to that, like
no,
whatever. Like people
yeah.
like Iron Maiden's my favorite band, but
Oh,
like
okay.
those first two Maiden albums, Like, I'm a Bruce Dickinson guy till I die. So, like,
Okay.
you know, that
Yeah.
that's the band to me. I love Killers and I love the self-titled, but, like, you put on Number of the Beast and it's like, it's not even in the same conversation to me.
They got more like heavier when he joined the band, right?
He has such like an operatic voice, and the songwriting just took a step up, I think, to match that. So like, it's just, it was just the level up all around to me.
Okay, good to know. Good to know. But I feel like Cannibal Corpse is sort of like such a unique example of a band evolving with a new singer because they really established so much without
Of
him
course.
and they put out so many albums without him. I mean, I think to me it seems so objective that he is a better vocalist. I think that you could ask like, music scholars and people who have
Mm,
studied music and know everything about like vocal technique and everything. And they'd be like, oh, clearly, like this person is like a 10 out of 10, and this person's like a 5 out of 10. And
sure.
Chris Barnes's legacy has just gone downhill further and further. I mean, I don't ever listen to 6 Feet Under.
The only time I've ever heard any new 6 Feet Under is to laugh at it when people like show, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
a
yeah, yeah.
joke, which like sucks because, I think the band is probably fine, but like, just hearing that horrible, whatever horrible voice he has now, just like screeching over it is like pretty
Yeah,
unfortunate. I don't know if that's
yeah.
because he wasn't able to maintain it, whatever, but like, as far as the trajectories of it go, you
Mhm.
look at Corpse Grinder, who still just like sounds incredible. I just saw them in May with Meshuggah and Carcass.
Oh, cool.
And they kick so much ass still.
Yeah.
So like, it's just one of those things.
I'm admittedly kind of a newer fan in that I got the second most recent album when it came out, and that was the first time I ever really got into a Cannibal Corpse album. And
Oh, really?
then yeah, and I was like, "Oh, this is amazing." And then the new one came out, Chaos Horrific or something.
Yeah, right, right,
Yeah,
right.
I love that. And
It's
then
great.
just on a whim, a friend of mine was like, "Hey, I have tickets to go see Cannibal Corpse and Mayhem when they did that tour."
Yeah, for sure.
And he's like, "Yeah, my wife can't go anymore. Do you want to come?" And I was like, "Yeah, absolutely. That sounds great." And went, and then was like, everyone was great that night. It was like Gore Guts and Blood Incantation. Mayhem were actually phenomenal. I didn't really
Yeah,
know a lot
Mayhem's
of their
great.
stuff.
Yep.
But then Campbell Corpse came on, and I was just like, "Oh my god, this is one of the greatest shows I've ever seen." And the fact that like they passed the 30-minute mark, it felt like, "Oh my god, they're still pummeling us."
Yeah,
And
for
the
sure.
the the pit was just like stopped moving. Like people were like, "Oh, I can't take anymore." They
Yeah, yeah,
couldn't
yeah.
keep up. And I was
Yeah,
just like, wow, I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna buy all the albums. And because the lineup for merch was so insane,
of
like
course. Yeah,
it twisted around the whole club that I was
yeah.
like, I'm just gonna go order a bunch of merch online. I'm gonna buy all their albums, and I'm gonna be a huge Cannibal Corpse fan. That's gonna be my identity going forward.
I love it. I love
So
it.
yeah, no, they just totally blew me away. I mean, since then, I think I've gotten a bit more into Suffocation, and I did get
Oh,
to see
sure.
them, but they're kind of a weird band in that, like, really the first few albums are the best albums, and then everything else since then has been like, oh, that's pretty good,
Yeah, I
but like,
agree. Yeah.
yeah,
Effigy of the Forgotten and Breeding the Spawn, and even up to like the self-titled. There's some stuff on the self-titled I like.
hmm.
Yeah, it's that
I
band.
like it all. I like it
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
all.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
it's
yeah,
all
for sure.
good, but it's just the hearing them now how like amazing they are at their instruments. Playing the old stuff though is like such a
Mhm.
treat. You're just like, oh my god, you've made this way
Totally,
faster and heavier. Yeah.
totally.
But yeah, I feel like I could keep talking to you about metal forever. And I do have a questionnaire before we wrap.
Okay. Yeah, that's
We're
right.
like at the 140. I don't want to keep you here all day or anything.
Yeah, for
But thank
sure.
you so much. It's been amazing talking with you.
This has been
And
great. Thank you so much.
yeah, I'm so stoked for the future of Boxcutter. I can't wait to see what you do next. Is there anything else you want to plug before we jump into this questionnaire and I let you go?
I don't really think so. I really appreciate you having me on to get to talk about this movie. I'm sorry for everybody listening that it might be a little while
Yeah.
before you can watch the movie, but I hope that
Yeah.
you'll revisit this, when after you see the movie, and you can be like, oh, that's what they were talking about.
Oh, I mean, I wonder if I should do like an edit that's down the road that's like with spoilers or something,
Oh, that'd be funny.
Like
That'd
we
be
could do
cool.
that.
Whatever,
But
whatever you
I've
want.
never done that before, but this is the first time I think I've ever had to really remove maybe quite a bit, but we'll figure it out. All right, questionnaire time.
All right.
What is one item you can't live without?
Oh, I would probably say my guitar. I don't think I could live without my guitar.
Yeah,
It's
love
been
it.
it's been my, self-expression tool for a really long time, and movie making and whatever aside, um I really turn to that for a lot of things that, like, I won't be able to fully articulate. So I don't think I could live without it. A guitar.
What kind of guitar do you have?
I've got a couple. I in college, I was touring with a progressive metal band, and we all played seven strings. So I have an
Oh,
Ibanez
wow.
seven string that I still play pretty frequently, just because I got used to the width of the neck and stuff. But I also have a Gibson Les Paul that I love very much.
Sweet. Okay. What was the band called that you were in?
The band was called Zombie Frogs. I did not
Oh,
name it.
okay.
I did not, I came in while it was already
Yeah.
established. They were about to make their first album, and I came on as the lead guitar player. And then we kind of, we're just like doing some East Coast stuff, and we recorded a few more things, and it's all still out there if you want to go listen to Zombie Frogs.
Cool. It doesn't sound like a progressive metal band name.
Yeah, I think that was like the idea behind it.
Okay. Yeah, fair. Okay. What was the last great movie you saw in theaters?
Oh, like we talked about, my movie intake has really been down, but
Sure.
I made a point to go see the new Naked Gun in the
Oh,
theater,
okay. Nice.
and
Nice.
I had such a good time. Me and my girlfriend went
Nice.
and just laughed for an hour and a half, and
Yeah.
that was really needed, for me at the time, so,
Hmm.
I really had a great time. That's a very, very good movie.
Yeah. I haven't seen that one yet, but I did just rent Friendship and would recommend that as well.
Oh, love that. Love
Yeah.
that one.
So funny. So
Yes,
funny.
yes.
What was the last great concert you went to?
Oh, we talked about it, but,
Mm.
I saw Gruesome, in
Oh, yeah.
Brooklyn
Yeah.
here. They put on a great show. Yeah, other than that, I saw, Knoll, the other band that we were talking about,
Oh,
and
cool.
Provocative, again,
Mm.
in Brooklyn, like Queens, I guess. That was another great show. I love seeing Noel. That was my second time now, and their like whole
Cool.
thing of their like stage setup, with the practical lighting, and
Yeah.
just really they're phenomenal. I'll try to.
Yeah.
They're one of those bands that I will try to see every time they're in town.
Yeah. I'd like to see them again for sure. They
Mm.
were really good. Okay. What was the last great book you read?
Oh, I'm not a huge reader in all transparency, but I did. My girlfriend got me the MF Doom biography. I'm a big
Oh, cool.
uh, 90s hip hop rap fan. Um, and I'm
Mhm.
a big Doom guy. So I read that. Super interesting. A lot
Sweet.
of things I didn't know. But yeah, if you haven't read the book and you love Doom, definitely worth a read.
All right. This one's a doozy. For his final meal, John Wayne Gacy picked KFC chicken, shrimp, and strawberries. For your final meal before being executed, what would you pick?
Man, this is tough. I love sushi so much.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
I don't know, man. Sushi would probably have to be on there, like a spicy
Okay.
scallop roll. Not every place will do it, but if you can find a
Okay.
place, oh man.
Okay.
So I'd say that. Um, like a bowl of cereal. I love
Oh,
cereal. Lucky
what
Charms.
cereal? Lucky Charms.
Uh,
Okay.
yeah, cinnamon toast crunch. Frosted mini wheats. Like sugary fucking shitty cereal. I love.
Yeah, it's
Um,
great.
oh man, dude.
Cereal, sushi.
Like the
This is not
the
going good
grossest
together.
combo of all time. I'm gonna die. Who cares?
Yeah,
Um,
true.
mac and cheese, maybe.
Okay, like not craft dinner though.
No,
Craft
no, no, no. Like
dinner? Oh,
homemade,
okay.
like like from like a soul food place or something like that. Like
Okay.
baked mac and cheese with
Ooh,
like
okay. I got
crust
you.
on it.
Yeah, yeah.
So I do the cereal
Yeah.
for
First,
for like
okay.
the appetizer, a bowl of cereal. I'd go mac and cheese. I'd go sushi. It's so fucking disgusting, and it makes you sound like a fucking pig. And then um, I'd probably do like like a pie or something, like a blueberry or
Oh,
like a strawberry rhubarb pie. I love
okay.
pie.
Pie's
With like
great.
ice cream or something, and then you can put me down.
Drink?
Uh, I don't know. It's just like probably just like water or something. I'm not.
Really?
Yeah, I don't really drink like soda or whatever, and I feel like I love juice, like any kind of sugary
Hmm.
juice, but like I feel
Okay.
like fuck it. Um, yeah, like oh, I don't know if they have them where you're from, but those Martinelli's apple juices, they're like
Hmm.
little. If anybody, I don't know if they're like an East Coast thing or just a New York thing, but like they're little bottles, but they're fat. They're like this. They're like little chode bottles of apple juice, and they're the best apple juice I've ever
Okay.
fucking had. They're so
Is it
good.
almost like the chubby pop bottles? They're like little tiny
I
like
don't
it's
know what
almost like oh,
I don't know
okay.
what that is, but maybe. I mean,
Okay.
they're like this. They're like that shaped,
Okay.
but they're
Crazy.
so good.
Okay. I'll have to
So
look that
probably
up. That
one of
sounds
those.
good. Okay.
Yeah, Martinelli's.
Okay. All right. Final question. Can
Okay.
art go too far?
See, okay, so in gearing up for this interview,
Uh-oh.
I went back and listened to some of your other interviews.
Oh no.
I listened to the one or maybe both with Doe. I listened to your Daniel
Okay.
Valiant
Oh,
one.
he's been on 3
Oh,
times.
really?
3?
Oh, so
3.
that maybe
Yeah.
just a couple then. And then your Daniel Valiant one, I kind of have a fascination with that guy.
Totally.
Um, and their answers, Doe's answer specifically, interested me because I think that it has to come down to what your definition of art is,
Hmm.
which I think is a subjective thing.
Sure.
Um, he was talking about mixtapes, if I remember correctly, in that interview,
Hmm.
and that there is some, or he brought up. I don't mean to. I don't mean to drag Doe. He's been very
Okay.
kind to me,
Yeah,
but like
yeah.
he brought up, um, ISIS beheading videos or some weird shit like that, and he
Yeah.
was like, "This is an art, but there's artistry in it," and I thought that was an interesting take. So I
Hmm.
guess it really comes down to what your view of art is, and in that example, um, the art would be in the technical uh package of something that isn't art. To me, I think that
Hmm.
technical ability and being able to edit and being able to hold a camera and being able to do X, Y, and Z on a technical level does not mean that you have made art. To me,
Okay.
art is in the eye of the beholder. As cheesy as
Hmm.
that might sound, I think
Yeah.
that art is only what you need it to be for yourself. I know people that would listen to Pissgrave or would watch Cannibal Holocaust or
Yeah.
something that would be like, I don't see any artistic merit in this at all. And I
Hmm.
know other people that would say, this is art to me.
Yeah.
So that, so I think that the line would have to be art is not easily defined, and
Yep.
therefore going too far can also be a little bit um,
Yeah.
of a gray area. Now, if you're asking my personal opinion of if art can go too far, I think that for what I consider art,
Hmm.
I do not think that it can go too far for what
Okay.
I consider to be art. And that does not include what I consider to be too far. Does that make sense? Like it's a roundabout
Hmm.
kind of what I consider too far, I
Yeah.
don't consider to be art.
Ah. Oh, yeah. 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 Okay. I see what you're
If that
saying.
makes sense. But
Yeah. Totally.
like the art that I enjoy and consume, I kind of want to find that line. And the way you
Yeah.
find that line is to cross it sometimes.
Yeah. Totally.
So, in what I want to immerse myself in or to consume as far as art goes,
Yeah.
I do think that it can, and I think in some instances it should go too far.
Hmm.
I am not, just want to be totally clear, I am not talking about cutting your fucking finger off. I am not talking about that.
Okay.
Because if you are asking my very humble opinion,
Yeah.
that is not what I would consider as art. Sorry, Daniel
Okay.
Valiant, you seem like a very kind person.
Yeah.
It's just my personal opinion.
Okay.
Um, we're in a very interesting time for quote unquote extreme underground
Yeah.
cinema. And I know you've had kind of the flag carriers of wherever it's heading on this show, so I don't need
Right.
to
Right.
alienate anybody. But
Yeah.
a part of me thinks that it can be a little irresponsible in the
Hmm.
pursuit of what is extreme and what is boundary pushing when it comes to actual bodily harm, when it comes to uh, these real life things, whatever.
Yeah.
Uh, because I think about when I was coming up and when other people were, looking for extreme movies, like what's the most disturbing movie? I don't know if you ever did
Yeah.
that. I don't know if you ever
Ah,
looked it up.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. But when, I don't know how old you are, but I'm
I'm
30.
40.
When Okay, all right.
I'm 40.
When I was
Yeah.
growing up, I'm sure you as well, we found like August Underground, or we found
Yeah.
Cannibal Holocaust, or we found Faces of Death, or
Yeah.
whatever. And I think about people now that would search most disturbing films of all time,
Yeah.
and they see somebody stabbing themselves over and over again with a pair of scissors, and they see somebody nailing their balls to a coffee table in real life. And they're
Yeah.
like, oh,
Yeah.
well, this is what I need to do if I want to make something extreme. Where do I need to go
Hmm.
other than.
Okay.
I think that people in this space kind of have a responsibility, not in the way of like, we need to neuter things and we need to blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't
Hmm.
necessarily believe that. And I think that everything
Yeah.
has its place. I do think that the we need to also understand and kind of uh help foster the fact that you do not have to cut off your
No,
wiener if you're gonna be if you want to make an extreme movie and if you want to push
yeah,
boundaries. You know what I mean? You can
totally.
also make people emotionally invested in characters and then, uh make you affect you in that way.
Yeah.
Because to most people, they'd see something like whatever, pick a movie that real life horrible things happen in, or a mixtape or whatever.
Oh,
And
sure,
then
sure.
they hold that in the same weight as something like Martyrs or something like,
Right.
you know what I mean? They're totally different things,
Yeah, I
but
would
people
agree.
hold them to be extreme. But I think that's
Hmm.
a little disconcerting, and I'm curious to see the pendulum kind of swing because we're definitely like in a golden age of like alt girlfriends puking on their boyfriend. You know what I mean? Sorry,
Yeah, yeah.
sorry,
No, no, no.
but like
Right. Yeah, yeah.
sorry.
Yeah. No, no,
I
no.
don't mean I don't mean to yuck anybody's yum here for real. Like
Sure, sure, sure,
I'm
sure.
not trying to sound like a dick, but it's just interesting to me. So when you talk like I kind of had this thought when I heard that
Yeah,
episode and you asked Jonathan that question specifically. I was
yeah.
like, that's so interesting. So thank you for letting me on that soapbox for a minute.
No, no, you're the thing is, your opinion is not uncommon, and I've had other people say similar things, and I've had even other people walk it back even further and include like any kind of level of extreme sexual assault in a film should
mm,
not really we shouldn't be going that far. Everyone has their own limits and
yeah,
everything.
of course.
I think I agree that there is a level of irresponsibility for sure. I think that because you're making me think of the extreme horror or the disturbing iceberg, and how
Totally.
really the main issue with that is that you've got films, narrative films, and then you've got extreme fetish content, and it's all kind of being compared in the same way of like, oh, well, eventually you end up watching this, and that I think that's probably the most irresponsible thing is comparing these two things,
Totally.
with that being said, like, I am fascinated with some of this stuff. I am fascinated with some of these people. Daniel Valiant especially is, I find, a very fascinating person.
Very.
And yeah, it's interesting comparing the two interviews I've done with him, because like even his politics have kind of changed, and his kind of approach to things has changed, and I don't think he's even wanting to explore self-harm anymore in his films. At least
Sure.
that was the impression that I got. And then watching what he's making now that doesn't have self-harm in it is also kind of like, it's there's still something very creepy about it, and you're like, well, where is this coming from? Like, Daniel is scary, and he does, or sorry, his content is scary, and
Mm,
he creates scary self-harm content. Somehow both those things are coexisting, for me at least. I don't know for anyone.
totally.
Like, have you seen any of his films or anything, or
So
did you
my
see The Art of
only
Self-Harm?
well, I edited sound for that.
Right. Okay.
I Jonathan reached out to me and was like, "Hey, do you want to? Can you edit some sound on this?" So I said, "Yeah," because I was curious. I'd heard
Yeah.
rumblings of this white gardenia, whatever, and I was like, "Okay, well, let me." And I was like, "Oh, I don't think I was like fully prepared for that." Um,
Yeah.
and I was
Yeah.
like, "All right, here we go."
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I believe that he obviously he's an intelligent individual and he has a lot of things to say and, things mean different things to him than I would necessarily read into. It's very surface
Yeah.
level for me consuming that. But in your interview with him and he was talking about
Mm.
his like Bible thing,
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and his comment about people not responding to it the way he had maybe hoped they would because it doesn't have him
Oh, okay. Yeah.
cutting fingers off or whatever. He was like, "Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't, I guess people, whatever." He was kind of a little bit understandably disappointed maybe to a certain degree. And I think that that is an interesting thing as well, because like when you establish yourself as doing this thing that gets a reaction out of people,
Hmm.
and it's very specific and it's very visceral and obviously takes a lot out of you, when you want to move away from that, like who comes with you, who are the people that
Mm.
are able to be like, oh, I know you're not. And I think about the same for Jonathan Doe, to be honest. Like
Okay.
he um has carved a path, and I know he does documentaries, but I would be interested to see the numbers of people that watch puke and watch a very well put together, well thought out true crime documentary. Uh, and I think about that in terms of people, and that's more
Mm.
a commentary on the fandom rather than the people making the movies. I get wanting to explore the taboo, wanting to explore the things you shouldn't do and to get a reaction. I totally get that. But it kind of bums me out hearing Daniel be like, "Oh, I'm putting
Yeah.
so much effort into this big epic thing, and like not
Mm.
everybody is down with it, and they'd rather see me, you know, slam my balls somewhere." You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
that
yeah,
bums me out to
yeah,
hear. But,
yeah. And it's interesting because the content that Jonathan Doe and Daniel Valiant are making that aren't so extreme are showing more of their craft is what's making them more legitimate in terms of being like artists. But what
mm,
you're saying is that that's not actually what's keeping people necessarily engaged with what they're creating, and that's the downside of it. At least for me, as in terms of being like doing the podcast, like there's been times where I've wanted to interview them more because of the curiosity. Do you know what I
mm.
mean? Even though I believe in what they're doing, at the end of the day, like talking to someone like Daniel Valiant, like that's a fascinating conversation,
For
you
sure,
know?
for sure. I only more so meant in comparing the two types of films that they make, I was more
Yeah.
so speaking on how uh, that kind of bums me out to hear that. And I don't know if it's the case with Jonathan Doe. I didn't mean to make that assumption, but
Mm.
I would be curious to know. That was all I'm saying. But in
Yeah.
hearing Daniel speak about uh this like big epic project, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but what it sounded like was that he didn't get
Yeah.
the response to it that he necessarily wanted,
Yeah.
um or thought that it deserved, which, like, of course, as people who make things, like, you think that you
Yeah.
want certain responses. But like if you have made your um if you have made your
Following?
what people, yeah, yeah, and what
Yeah.
people know you for is so hyper specific.
Yeah.
I really like it. Bums me out to hear that people wouldn't be willing to follow you somewhere else with away from that. That's all I was saying about it, is that
Yeah.
it bums me out to hear that.
But then, and this is maybe a good way to bring it all back, isn't it a matter of him to then prove himself? Because I mean, when Vile came out, did the public immediately jump on board with Corpse Grinder?
I don't know. I don't believe, probably not. And there were probably people
Yeah.
that didn't never converted. There
Right.
are people still that are like, it's Chris Barnes, or I don't care. But
Yeah.
in terms of this, yeah, I mean, it's all I to me, it's all dependent on if you think you have something to prove, you know?
Mm.
Like, if you don't think you have anything to prove to anybody and you just make what you want to make, then like people are either going to fuck with it or they won't. To me, it was just an interesting thought to have in
Mm.
hearing somebody who obviously takes what they do very seriously and has an intention behind it and garners a very, very visceral response, rightfully so,
Yeah.
to then be like, "Oh, this didn't perform how I wanted it to." And
Yeah.
that just bummed me out on the level of, like, somebody hearing somebody else making stuff kind of be like, because you when you watch or hear about the things that he does, you're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, that is obviously somebody who wouldn't care about what somebody thinks." If
Oh.
anybody if
Yeah.
anybody doesn't care, it's the
Yeah.
guy nailing his balls to the table. That guy doesn't care. But,
Yeah. He cares.
it's nice to
Yeah.
kind of to have heard that.
Oh,
It
so
bummed
then
me
it's a
out.
good thing.
That's what I've been. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Well,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I did not want it to sound negative.
Okay.
It reached me as a creator, and I was like, "Oh,
Right.
this guy makes stuff just like everybody else,
Yeah.
and he has an idea of how he wants it to go, and sometimes it
Yeah.
doesn't get there." As everybody, you know, Sleezo didn't
Yeah.
do nearly what I wanted it to do, and
Oh.
I kind of felt that. I was like, "Man,
Yeah.
that's a bummer. That's a bummer." That's all
Yeah.
that I meant, and I'm not trying to be facetious when I say that. It is,
No, I don't I
because
didn't think you were.
I
Yeah.
know the
Yeah.
feeling, and it just kind of was a connection with him that I never thought that I would have, because it's nothing that
Oh,
I would
amazing.
ever consume. Um,
Yeah,
but
I
yeah,
mean, I take that as a compliment because I mean, this was the interview I did with him that sort of got you to find him more relatable and like
totally,
humanize
totally,
him. And I don't know, I think this is just like such a common problem with all artists that maybe we're like overly moralizing it. Like we just almost need to stand back and look at it as like, no, it's literally just one project and then he does another project and it's so completely different that he's maybe lost the people that were into the initial project. Like maybe that's literally all it is. Do you know what I
for
mean?
sure, for sure, for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, it's just an interesting. It's all very, very fascinating to me. Um,
Totally.
Aside from like him in specific, but like people's reaction to things in general are is just super. What will connect with people and what won't,
Mm.
is fascinating to me. So yeah,
Yeah. Well, Lucky, thank you so much. I'd love to have you back on. I mean, maybe even when Boxcutter, when you're like, so I'm about to go and go to like the Oscars to accept my best or something along those lines. Yeah.
anytime, Bob. This was so much fun.
Cool.
I really appreciate you taking the time to chat about this movie, and thank you for watching it as well. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm down to watch any of your films. I've seen pretty much all of them at this point. So
Cool.
yeah. Yeah. And they're great stuff. So yeah.
Thank you,
Thank you
buddy.
so much. We'll be in touch.
All
All
right.
right. Take
Take
care.
care.